Welcome to the Education Corner, a podcast by Education Choices magazine.
Education Corner podcast would like to welcome Mr. Matthew Close, Executive Headmaster of the Royal School in Surrey. He talks about the entry points and ethos of the Royal School, as well as their Future Ready programme and his vision for the Royal School's future as its new headmaster. We're pleased to welcome you today, Matthew. We understand you took over as Executive Headmaster of the Royal School in July 2023. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your career today leading up to this?
Absolutely. And thanks for having me on the podcast, Chloe. Lovely to speak with you once again after many, many years. So a little bit about me. I've lived in Surrey and the southeast for most of my life. I was educated at Reed School, and that really did set me up for life and gave me the inspiration. And one particular member of staff gave me the inspiration to become a teacher. I stand firm that everybody needs somebody in their life who believes in them, and Reed's gave me that. There was one particular member of staff who really did believe in me as a human being and as a person, and that if I really chased my dreams, then I could hopefully reach for the stars and land on a moon somewhere along the way. So my career, I was educated at Reed, as I said. I went off to Durham to study geography and played quite a lot of hockey up there. And I met my wife. I'm one of the 70% of Durham geographers who actually marries another Durham graduate. And from there, I then went down to Oxford to study for my PGCE and then went straight into education. So education is the only thing I've ever known, really. And I've been very, very fortunate to work in some excellent schools. I started at Warwick, coaching some sport and teaching geography. I then moved back to Reeds, actually, to take over the geography department and to be the boss of teachers who used to teach me, which was a very, very peculiar experience, but a wonderful one. And then I moved from there to the City of London School up in town to be the head of geography, and then from there to be a head of sixth form at City of London Freeman School, before bouncing to Surbiton to be the vice principal in charge of pastoral care and well-being, before finally ending up in the glorious surroundings that I'm now in Hazelmere, surrounded by trees and the sunshine at the moment. So that's a quick plotted history of how I've come to be.
Can you tell us a little bit about the ethos and values at the Royal School?
The ethos is very much one of inclusivity. We are a school where every child matters. Because of our size, we know every single child. That's really important to us. We value personal interaction probably higher than anything else, so that every member of staff knows every child and every child knows every member of staff. And the year sevens know the year eights, and the year eights know the year tens, and the year tens know the year 13s, and the year 12s know the year sevens. So there really is a community feel to the school. And I think that tight-knit community that we've created is the ethos of the school, whereby everybody matters, everybody's views and opinions are of equal value, and how we go about communicating those is so important. So the ethos and the values, we talk about guiding principles rather than values, and I think that's quite important because values are very personal to you, and what I value somebody else within my own school might not value, but our guiding principles help the community to know what it's trying to achieve. So our three guiding principles of social justice, and by that I sort of mean understanding of globalism, of respect for others, of kindness and humility. So social justice in its very widest sense of understanding that we are part of a community and the community is so important to us. So that would be our sort of first guiding principle. The second guiding principle we have is one of self-respect. And so that's looking after yourself. That's being aware of your emotions. It's being confident. It's being ambitious for yourself. It's self-discipline and knowing what you believe in and making sure that you are true to yourself first and foremost. And so then the final guiding principle we have is we want everybody to chase their dreams and to reach for the stars. The school's motto is per aspera ad astra, which loosely can be translated to through challenge to the stars. And so we see chasing dreams and trying to reach the stars as being so complementary to one another. So we want our pupils to be ambitious. Well, indeed, our staff, we want them to be ambitious for themselves. We want them to set themselves high standards. We want them to dream big, because if you don't dream big, you're not going to aim high. And if you're not aiming high, you're never going to push yourself to something that you think is almost impossible. And that's what I ask of the staff. Let's set ourselves some big, hairy, audacious goals, things that we don't quite think. One could almost say that's unbelievable, but there's a chance that we could get there. So that's the ethos really of the school. And as I say, values are very, very personal things. So our community lives by guiding principles rather than by us saying what you should value. And I think that that's quite important. So that's the Royal School. But looking back at the founder's motto for the school, one which sits so front and centre of all that we do today, is helping us to look forward. It is acknowledging that there will be challenges ahead, and it's how we approach those challenges that are so important. But let's dream big and let's have some big, hairy, audacious goals for our community and indeed for ourselves.
Sounds very exciting. What are the main requirements and points of entry for children and families considering applying to the Royal School?
The main requirement for the Royal School is that whoever wants to come to us has ambition for themselves, that they see themselves as an individual, but they also see themselves as part of a community, and they want to be part of that community, and they want to throw themselves at school life and get as much out of it as they possibly can. So whilst we have entrance exams and most will join us in year 7 or year 9, whilst we have those, I put more importance actually on the interview that all of the children will have with me, because character is so important. You know, how often we hear that one should employ for attitude and train for skill. Well, never was that more important than in a school. I will always look at the character of a child, and because through the interview I will get a sense of, are we the right school for you? Not are you good enough, but are we the right school for you? Are we a school where we can add real value to your life? And if I think that we are, irrespective of a maths grade or an English grade, if I think that we can add significant value to a child's life and that they will thrive and flourish with us, that's the entry criteria for our school. And so we absolutely are true to that. So yeah, most people will join us in year 7. We have entry points throughout the school. A number of international boarders will join us in year 10 because that's a good time for them to join. And then again, in the 6th form, we welcome our year 11s into our 6th form, but then we will also be joined by those looking for a slightly different 6th form experience, and indeed international boarders coming over to study their A-levels. But character is everything, and being able to see children in the flesh and be able to communicate with them as a human being, that's more important to me than a grade in English or in maths, I would say.
And can you just tell us a little bit about the bursary scholarship provision that you offer?
We would hope that if we are the right school for a child, then we will do all that we can to enable them to come to our school. So we do offer bursaries. These are means-tested bursaries. And we also offer bursaries for forces children in particular. The school originally was the Royal Naval School for Girls. And so it's important to us that we're true to our roots. So we absolutely offer forces bursaries and scholarships. And then with regard to scholarships, again, these are usually awarded either into year 7 or into the 6th form. And we have academic scholarships based on the exam performance of the children in year 7, and then in year 12, or for those looking to enter into the 6th form, they would sit scholarship papers in the subjects in which they want to continue to A-level. And then we offer music scholarships and performing arts scholarships. So that would encapsulate dance and drama and musical theatre. And then we have a variety of sports scholarships available. So music, drama, performing arts and academic scholarships would be the main ones that we would offer.
And the Royal School, just for those listeners who may not be quite sure exactly where you are, is a small school. It's based in the Surrey Hills. It's a lovely setting. Aside from the setting, what do you believe some of the benefits of this situation is for students and staff?
As you rightly note, Chloe, we are in the most beautiful of settings, looking out over the Devil's Punch Bowl, surrounded by trees and woodland. And so I think for almost every lesson changeover, our children are fortunate enough to be able to grab some fresh air and walk through a tiny little bit of the Surrey countryside before they pop into their next lesson. So giving them time just to reflect on whatever has just happened in their lesson or just ready themselves for the next one. So we are very fortunate in where we are, and they get to hear the birds in the trees and see the sun shining through the window. And I think that does offer something. It means that we do have a calming environment. The children are able to go out and find some space, either to kick a football around if that's what they want to do, or just to go and sit under a tree and talk to their friends. So the location is absolutely stunning. What I would say, though, is that location is but a small part of a school. It's the young creative minds within the school that make a school. So yes, ours are very, very fortunate to be able to get outside and take a good gulp of fresh air, but really it's the creative minds within the school that give it the life and the vibrance that it has. But again, for our staff, they teach in areas that are flooded with sunlight, and they're able to get out of the classroom. And if you've got a geography lesson and you're wanting to look at the impact of footpath erosion because of tourism, you can get out into the Devil's Punch Bowl and actually go and see it and actually go and measure it, rather than just reading about it in a textbook. In the same way, we've got a stretch tent in school that's up, and we take drama lessons out into it on a warm summer's day. So the setting is absolutely stunning and really does allow our children to feel the space that they need, because often life can be pretty hectic, can't it? And they get a chance at lunchtime and at break time and even just between lessons just to decompress a little bit and then get ready for the next learning experience that is awaiting them just around the corner.
I think many of the listeners are often London-based or city-based, and the one thing that there's a shortage of is that space, that freedom. Just further to that, could you tell us about the Royal School's Future Ready programme?
Yeah, absolutely. And in all honesty, Chloe, it's more than a program. It's our educational philosophy. So we absolutely believe that everything we do every single day, every interaction we have with the children sets them up for their future. And that's why absolutely every lesson that is taught must be excellent. Everything that we do in school, we absolutely have to acknowledge that could be the spark for a particular child, and that determines the rest of their future. So the Future Ready program is pretty simple. It's our way of trying to communicate what we think an excellent education is. And an excellent education should allow all children, no matter what their starting point, to be ready for whatever it is that they go on to after leaving us. That's what we think Future Ready is. And we have 3 strands of that. So we talk about being practically ready. So practically ready doesn't just mean knowing how to turn on a washing machine, although they will learn how to do that in the boarding house. It doesn't just mean learning how to cook on a budget, which again, all of our sixth form have access to flexi boarding. We invite them all to board over the course of the year. And as part of that boarding experience, they will learn how to cook as if they were a student at university on a budget, and they actually have to cook themselves. So joining our boarding house is helping to make them future ready, because let's be honest, sometimes you join a boarding house and absolutely everything is done for you, and you don't have to get up and get yourself to school really, because somebody rings a bell and wakes you up. Whereas our boarding house and our approach to future ready in that respect really does help to make the children future ready. And it could even be, how to change a car tire, because how often you can get stuck on a Surrey country lane. If you don't know how to change a tire, you could be in for a long wait. So that's part of practicality. Practicality is also, how do you greet someone? When you're having a conversation with someone asks you a difficult question, how do you manage that? So all of our tour guides on our open mornings, we actually see touring the school as an opportunity for learning. It's not that you're just missing your geography lesson or you're missing your history lesson and therefore you're missing education. Absolutely not. What you're actually doing is learning to introduce yourself to a stranger and to show the school and show how you are proud of something, and field what could be a difficult question. It could be a question that you don't know the answer to. But let's be honest, that's the most important thing that you have to do in an interview. It's knowing what to do when you don't know what to do. Our year 8s and 7s will learn what to do when they don't know what to do through touring the school. So that's our philosophy for education. So that's practically ready. Then the next sort of third is making sure that they are emotionally ready. So that's an understanding, and that sort of links in with self-respect. That's an understanding of who they are and what does this emotion mean? What emotion do you have when you don't quite do as well in a test as you might want to? And how can you take that negative emotion and turn it into a positive? I would argue, though, that really for us, we need to find the niche. We need to find everybody's niche. What is it that they love going to school for? And we absolutely allow them to do as much of that as humanly possible. And we take all of the positive emotions that they get from that, so that when they're in a geography lesson with me, and it might not be going quite as well as they want it to be, they've still got that positive emotion from the thing that they really enjoyed doing just before my geography lesson. So that's the sort of emotional side. And then our third string, as it were, is intellectually ready. Because being intellectually ready, getting good exam results, that is the cornerstone of a great education, I think. And so that's about allowing our pupils to do the courses that are right for them. We tailor our education for what is right for each individual child. So if we have an international athlete, of which we do, it's about making sure that their timetable allows them to carry on their pursuit at an exceptional level. If there's a child who may find, I don't know, languages slightly more challenging, it's about us making sure that we tailor our education for each individual child. So the Future Ready programme is actually a philosophy of education which sits right at its heart, being intellectually ready, being emotionally ready, and being practically ready for whatever dream it is that you're chasing.
I think it's lovely that it's not 100% exam centered and more looking at the whole child and looking at life skills, really. In recent years, families' work schedules have shifted significantly. Has this had a noticeable impact on families applying for weekly or flexi boarding?
It absolutely has. And in fact, I was only talking to a parent this morning about the benefits of flexi boarding. We actually talk about sort of home from home boarding and making it work for families. Family life now is very different to how it was 5 years ago and very, very different to how it was 20 years ago. What we want to do is we want to enable any child who wants to come to our school to be able to do that. So if they live in central London, weekly boarding will allow them to be part of our community. If they live in Petersfield, just down the road, and they're in the school play and they've got a performance that goes on to late, we don't want the fact that they live 20 minutes away to be a barrier to them taking part in that play. So they may stay for a night. And we have quite a few of our sixth form that do exactly that. You know, they come, they help out on an evening event, they stay over. They think it's win-win because they're not having to spend half an hour the following day getting into school. So I think with all schools, really, boarding is changing, and accepting that boarding is changing and being flexible to the needs of the families, really the needs of the children. That's what comes first. So I would never want location to be a barrier to somebody wanting to come to the Royal School, which is why we offer what we offer.
And percentage wise, the boarding and day, is it about half?
No, we've got about 22% of the community board. Just under half of the boarding community are British. And then we have quite a wide international take up for our full boarding. But in terms of weekly and flexi boarding, again, it varies from year to year. But as I say, I think pretty unique to our sixth form is the fact that we do offer and hope that they will all at some point join the flexible boarding, because we do see that it has real merit, and it helps them to be future ready when they learn not to put a bright red t-shirt in their white swash.
Yeah, it's all preparation for university, isn't it? There's a lot of discussion going on, and our last edition we covered it in quite a lot of depth about AI. Do you have any thoughts on the impact AI is going to have, particularly on the education at the Royal School, I suppose?
I do have a view on it, and I actually think what it's going to do, it's almost going to lead us full circle. I'm a firm believer that the world is human-led and tech-powered. And I think over the last decade or so, we've actually allowed the world to be tech-led and human-powered. And so I think with AI, there are so many opportunities for improving quality of teaching and learning in our schools through the use of technology in ways that possibly we don't yet even know. We're only scratching the surface at it. Schools are still very much learning what's out there and challenges that face. But I am an eternal optimist. And I would imagine when the OHP was first introduced in schools, slightly before I started teaching, there will have been some who said this will be the death of the teacher. And all that you will do is you will walk in and put your acetate down and walk out again, and the children will do whatever they need to do. Clearly, that never happened. It certainly didn't happen when my teachers were using their OHPs. So I think there are challenges. There are challenges for making sure that online provision is safe. And indeed, the pupils don't believe everything that they read on the internet. And yes, the AI can be very, very good, but what it doesn't do, it doesn't think for you. You have to think first and tell it what to do. It doesn't actually think for you. It just might allow you to think a little bit quicker. So ever the optimist. Yes, there's challenges ahead for schools and for leaders in schools, but the world is human-led and tech-powered. And as long as we remember that, we will use technology in the right way in education.
Very positive outlook, Matthew. Finally, you've obviously just started. It's a very exciting time for you and the school. What's your vision for the future of the Royal School going forwards?
It's a great question. Pretty simple, really. Every single young mind that is in our school has to be future ready. They have to have been inspired. They have to have been empowered. They have to feel that they can chase their dreams, and that with hard work, they have to believe that the impossible is possible. And I think that is the starting point for my vision for the school. Yes, we will want to grow. Of course we will. Yes, we will want to see everything thrive and flourish. But really, my vision is that anybody who is educated at our school, when they leave us, whenever that be, they leave us with their head held high. They leave us with a sense of purpose. They leave us with a sense of who they are and what they can be, and that they're ambitious for themselves, and that they're ambitious for their friends, and that they're hopeful for their future. Too much at the moment is about negativity and the pressures of young people and so on and so forth. And there are great pressures, but a child who leaves the Royal School will do so future ready, having been empowered, having been inspired, having had great teachers, having been given opportunities and encouraged to reach for that which, when they joined us, they might have felt impossible, and even their parents may have felt impossible. That's my vision. It's a vision for education. It's a vision for the future of children, not just the Royal School. But I'm just fortunate to work in an amazing environment where I think for the young minds that are in our school, we can make that vision a reality, and every action that we do will help us on the way for that vision.
It sounds very exciting, and I'm hoping I'm going to be able to come and visit soon.
You must come and visit us, Chloe.
Thank you very much for giving up your time, Matthew, and I'll hopefully speak to you soon.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.